Scripture, tradition, and the Catechism. And now, your host, Jim Havens.
It is great to be back with you on The Simple Truth, where we proclaim the life-giving reality of Jesus and his Catholic Church. We consecrate everything to the Sacred Heart of Jesus through the Immaculate Heart of Mary and the pure, strong heart of Saint Joseph. It is Wholeness and Healing Monday, fighting to cultivate the health of the whole person, mind, body, and soul. With our co-host, my lovely wife, Becky Havens. She is a Catholic wife and mother with a passion and calling to educate people about the importance of caring for our bodies that the Lord has blessed us with by living a healthy lifestyle. She's the author of Toxin Free in 12 Months, a 12-month guide to help you transition over to a toxin-free lifestyle. She also wrote a boycott list of over 300 pro-abortion companies. You can get both those resources for free and learn more at her website, safehavensmama.com. That's safehavensmama.com. All right, our topic today, what do you know about MTHFR? And as we get into this topic, as always, we want to make it clear we're not doctors, we're not scientists, just regular people looking to live well and raise our family. We believe in objective truth and in asking questions when things do not make sense. We're not giving medical advice, but we do want to offer a forum here today. We might know a thing or two, but there's still a ton that we don't know. We do have personal experiences, and we know that you do as well. We love to hear from you. Share your insights with us. What have you learned on this topic today? What do you know about MTHFR? We did ask folks about this in the survey that we put out this morning. Do you know what the MTHFR gene mutation is? 57% of respondents said no, but there was a lot expressed that they would like to know. So this is a rather complex topic as I dig into it, but it can be simplified down. Thanks be to God, we've got Becky here to help us to do all that. So Becky, let's start I just want to ask, I guess, when did you first learn about the MTHFR mutation? I think I remember this probably about 10 years ago now. And what do you want to say about this by way of introduction today?
Yeah, I happened to learn it just by chance. We had experienced 2 miscarriages, and I remember my doctor telling me that, well, you have to experience 3 miscarriages in a row for us to do blood work and figure out what's going on. And so I really kind of pleaded and said, I really don't want to go through that again. If you could just go ahead and give me your typical testing to see if there is anything wrong, because we had 3 healthy pregnancies right before. I just wanted to see what was going on. And so when the testing came back, she said, everything looks great. The only thing is that you have an MTHFR gene mutation. So I had no idea what that meant, but it really, got me to research everything about it, because that's kind of just the way I am. So I really dug deep into it and learned so much about it. So, that was about 10 years ago, and we've definitely implemented a lot of things into our lives to kind of work around that. And lots to know about it.
Now, was that a regular medical doctor that found that, or was it some sort of a functional medicine practitioner or something? It would seem odd just to have a medical doctor even being aware of this, from what I've been reading, let alone bringing this up and sharing that they have found this. What was the doctor like? What was the experience like?
Yeah, it was a midwife. So it was just, I was going to the midwives and we were in Nashville at the time. And I had no idea about any of that stuff. I feel like we were eating really healthy at the time, and we were really aware of what we were eating. So I think it came as a surprise to see, what was going on. She was a good midwife. She was very thorough. She did say, like, oh, you just take folic acid and you'll be good to go. And if I had listened to that, I probably would have been in some trouble, because don't do that. I really researched what to take, what form to take, and why. I wasn't just going to take whatever she said to take, because we know our bodies, and a lot of times supplements or medications don't always make us feel good or work well, or sometimes you really have to go slow with it. So it was a great starting point in learning about what MTHFR was. There's different variants, and then what to do about it. But yeah, after that, once I realized that I had it, I knew probably the kids had it as well, and I wanted to see if you had it. So I was pretty proactive about getting them tested and then getting you tested. And it turns out that you had it as well. And then the kids had it, and one of our children had two of the genes. So once you're aware of that, then you can go from there. I think that would be the first thing to do, is to get tested, especially if you're dealing with any kind of symptoms regarding this, or even just to know, because 50% of the population has 1 to 4 versions of it. And just to know how your body works and the best way to take care of it, I think it's really important. And last thing is, I think it is becoming a little bit more mainstream. I remember asking the kids' doctors at the time to test for this, and they were more of a natural doctor, so they were into it and fine, but it was not covered by insurance or anything. It was something we had to pay separately for. And a lot of doctors, like I think your doctor, I asked to get you tested for that, and then your homeocysteine levels as well, which is really important in all of this too. And they did it, but they were kind of like, why would you ever want to know that? So yeah, it might seem a little foreign to some doctors, but I think people are picking up on it more.
All right, we're going to get into all that today, the testing, how do we go about this, as well as what do we do to mitigate this and all of that. And I do want to get you to drill down into the different variations and what that all means. So 50% of the population having some form of this, but there's different forms. And so we need to get into that. But first, just very basic. So MTHFR, this stands for methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase. That's what that MTHFR is short for. It's what am I saying here? An acronym, or I'm losing my tongue here, but you know what I mean. And so it's crucial to the methylation cycle. A mutation in the MTHFR gene affects the efficiency of the MTHFR enzyme in every cell of one's body. It's associated with numerous health conditions: chronic fatigue, heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, inflammation, achy joints, arthritic type pains, fibromyalgia, cancers, dementia, headaches, mood disorders, anxiety, depression, ADHD, addiction, autism, infertility, weight issues and diabetes, autoimmune disease, chemical sensitivities, because there's an inability to detoxify the liver that takes place here. And so a defect in your MTHFR gene, from what I've read, can affect your production of brain neurotransmitters like dopamine. That's the connection between addictions, because the low dopamine can lead to that. Serotonin levels are off, melatonin. It also affects your detoxification pathways. So all this, look, it seems like a pretty big deal. But yeah, why don't more people know about this, I guess, is the first question. And then, yeah, share with us a little bit about the different types that people might have. They might have something where not that big a deal, or maybe a type that is a much bigger deal. What can you share with us, Becky?
Yeah, I think it's not really that well known or well studied, even by doctors. There's one doctor in particular that is probably the main guy you would go to, Dr. Ben Lynch, and that's who I got all of my information from at least 10 years ago. And he's gotten way bigger now, and he has a whole variety of supplements to help people, for those that are dealing with this. And I would think also a lot of like OBGYNs are finding more about it, because it does affect pregnant women the most, because a lot of times, especially with one of the variants, is that you cannot break down and properly use folic acid. So folic acid is essential for the developing baby, and without it, you can have issues like spina bifida and other, really difficult issues with the baby. And so I think that, a lot of the OBs or midwives are looking more into that, because it also can affect like a clotting issue as well. And so I think they realize that, women who are low on folate and the B vitamins are struggling in their pregnancies. Preeclampsia is another issue that can happen with this. And so I think it's becoming a lot more mainstream. I know over the years I've seen a lot of prenatal vitamins starting to include the methylated version. So I think that's important that people are starting to become aware and starting to realize, like, my body's not utilizing this. I can't get pregnant, or I can't sustain a pregnancy. And I've seen a huge increase in information about it and of women becoming aware of it and finding ways to be able to properly sustain a pregnancy. So I think it's on the rise, and it's good. There are a ton of genes in our bodies that can, I guess I'll let you take it from here and then get back up with that.
Yeah, we'll come back there. So yeah, we'll hear more about those different variations. Also, where do you get tested? How do you get tested? And then what can you do to mitigate this, to make sure that if you have this and understand what variation you might have, what can you do about it, right? And there are things you can do about it that are very, very helpful. One of those things, again, we'll dive into when we're back here at the end of this next break, which is this methylfolate that Becky is talking about. So you want to avoid folic acid and foods that are fortified with folic acid, but you want this methylfolate, which is the active form of vitamin B9. But this methylfolate is a very potent supplement. So we've got some experience with this. We're going to tell you about it when we get back. Stay tuned.
This is Franciscan Media's Saint of the Day for September 18th. Today we celebrate Saint Joseph of Cupertino. He has been called the Flying Friar, but the fact that Joseph of Cupertino could levitate or float in the air during prayer wasn't the most remarkable thing about him. The depth of his holiness was. He entered the conventual Franciscans, and though challenged by his studies, he persisted and was ordained in 1628. Joseph's tendencies to levitate during prayer became something of a cross. Some people came to observe him much as they might go to a circus sideshow, but Joseph's unusual gift led him to be humble, patient, and obedient, though at times he was greatly tempted and felt forsaken by God. His fellow Franciscans transferred Joseph several times for his own good and for the good of the rest of the community. He spent some years in out-of-the-way friaries. Reported to and investigated by the Inquisition, eventually he was exonerated. Immediately after his death in 1663, miracles were reported at his tomb. Joseph of Cupertino was canonized 100 years later. There's more about the saints along with inspiration and Catholic resources at our website, saintoftheday.org. From Franciscan Media, this has been Saint of the Day.
We hear all the time from listeners who discovered the station by seeing a Try God bumper magnet in traffic. You can request a free bumper magnet and start evangelizing just by driving around town. Go to thestationofthecross.com and click on promotional material under the About tab. There you can request a magnet for your listening area. We even have one for the iCatholic Radio mobile app. Request yours today.
To the Simple Truth. Jim and Becky Havens here, Wholeness and Healing Monday. Our topic today, what do you know about MTHFR? It's a mutation, a gene mutation that affects the efficiency of the MTHFR enzyme. And every cell of one's body can have some pretty dramatic effects. It's good to understand it, get tested, and try to mitigate it if you can, and you can. So we're going to get into all the different ways that you can counteract the mutation, the variation that you might have, if you know about that. So we'll get into that in just a bit. But Becky, we left off. Actually, let me get the phone number out there real quick. And if you want to call in with anything on this, if you have some experience on this, if you know something about MTHFR that you want to share with us or any questions, feel free to give us a call, 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. So Becky, you were mentioning in the last segment something like 1 to 4 different types of variations, mutations that can occur here with this MTHFR. I believe you have 1, is my understanding. I have 1. I think we have a daughter that has 2, and that's significantly something more to keep an eye on and to try to mitigate. But please correct me where I might be wrong on this, and help us all to understand these different types of varieties that might occur here with this gene mutation MTHFR.
Sure. So there are 2 different types of mutations here. The first one being C677T, and the second one being A1298C. So there is quite a bit of research on both of them, which is really helpful. I have some really great links and articles. If anybody's interested, you can just go to my website and feel free to message me or email me, and I'll be happy to send those out for you if you want to learn a little bit more about that. But so the first is the C677T, and that is what we have, and that seems to be a bit more common. And there's 2 different ways to have it. There's heterozygous and homozygous. Hetero just meaning 1 copy of that mutation and 1 normal copy, and then the homozygous is 2 copies of that mutation. So when you have the homozygous, you have 70% loss of function. And then when you have the heterozygous, about 40% loss of function. And basically that means you're going to have a really difficult time to detox and to repair. Your immune system can be lowered, especially if you have 2 of those. And you're going to have a really hard time absorbing the folic acid, which is vitamin B9. So it's reduced from like 40% to 70%. So if you're pregnant or you're trying to get pregnant, that's going to be a really big difficulty for you, and poses dangers to the baby. So it is important. I think it should be a routine test for pregnant women. I'm not sure why it's not at this point, since there's a ton of research out there, and they're finding a lot of helpful supplements to help women in these ways. So I think for us, when we found out what we had and tried to implement some of the things that we learned, it was a bit of a roller coaster. I think we struggled to figure out how to implement these into our diets. And the thing is when you've been eating fortified bread and you've been taking supplements with folic acid for years, which I was, your body can't use that. So it's actually being stored up. It's not being used. And a lot of times it's creating inflammation in different parts of your body. So once you get the new methylated version, so here's folic acid over here, and all the way down there is the methylated version. You want to really break down that folic acid to get to the folate that you can properly use. I mean, it's good to eat a lot of, leafy green veggies, and your diet is huge. But still, you're going to probably need more, especially if you're pregnant or trying to get pregnant. And that's the tricky part. That's why you really need to focus on, getting a test, especially if you're dealing with some symptoms, or you're having an issue getting pregnant or staying pregnant. If you have any kind of clotting factors or difficulties detoxing, or you're sick a lot, I think getting that answer is going to be helpful. Then at least you have a path and you kind of know where to start.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. And the book that you mentioned in the first segment, the doctor that you mentioned, Dr. Ben Lynch, the book Dirty Genes. So this is a book that's out there that has a lot of information on this. I don't believe he's a particular Catholic man from my reading of some of the book. I mean, it's mostly scientific in nature, I would say. So I don't know that there's much about his moral stance on various things, but I did see something where he mentions IVF in here. Doesn't necessarily endorse it, but also, just kind of says it matter of fact. So just be aware, he's probably not a Catholic man, and, just understand that you're looking for scientific data as you read through this, and what his experience has been there. That's what would be helpful to really getting to the truth of these things. And so when you read through this, though, it is helpful. And Dr. Ben Lynch, so this guy is a naturopathic physician, And it says here that naturopathy is a science-based system that uses natural methods to restore health and wellness with a focus on treating the underlying causes rather than the symptoms, and relying on natural means: diet, lifestyle, herbs, supplements, avoidance of chemicals, support for detoxification and reduction and or relief of stress. Now, we've talked about functional and integrative medicine before on this program, which a growing number of medical doctors, nurses, other healthcare providers are taking up, which focuses on natural means to treat root causes. Naturopathy here seems quite similar, but Dr. Lynch writes that you might go to your doctor with real symptoms and have your doctor tell you that you're not really sick, or maybe you've been offered drugs to medicate the symptoms: antibiotics, painkillers, antacids, antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, without much attention to the underlying issues that produce the symptoms. But Dr. Lynch continues on and explains that even if you found a naturopathic physician or a functional integrative MD, most will not understand how to translate the genetic research into concrete actions that will improve health, so they may not be helpful when it comes to MTHFR. Now, a growing number of them may be, but they may not be. So, Becky, help us to wade through this. Where does one go if they want to get tested? Who should they consult? What do you do?
So I feel like if you have a good relationship with your doctor, these days you probably could ask for a test, especially if you're having symptoms, or especially if you're not getting any answers anywhere else. If your doctor dismisses that, I would say it might be time to find a new doctor, because this is medicine, this is science. It's not some weird type of thing that only some kind of natural doctor would know about. It's, there's a ton of data on it. So you could just simply explain to them that I feel like maybe this is going on. I would like to get tested. So the range of symptoms for this type of thing is outrageous. I won't even go into Dr. Lynch's range of symptoms. So that's why it's hard to pinpoint. But the good news is that there's a lot you can do without being on medication for the rest of your life, or without completely changing everything that you do. So I think starting out with, just an honest conversation with your doctor is really important. And that's kind of just what we did. And they were really good about it. And then you kind of have to take the information from that and apply it to how you want to use it, because a lot of times they don't know which direction to go in when you find out what you find out. That's when you might want to take the next step. And Dr. Lynch has a huge resource for information. I think it's called MTHFR.net. And there's so much, that's basically where I learned everything about it. I just went on the website and I would just learn and learn and learn, because I just wanted to make sure I was doing the right thing for me. And especially when I found out my kids had it, I wanted to make sure I was setting them up for success as they got older, especially my daughters, if this could affect them regarding their fertility, or clotting or other issues like that. And so I think there are some other sites that will give you the test for about $200. I mean, I've heard some strange things about 23andMe, so I don't know if they're a good company anymore. I think they were like selling people's information or DNA or something. Was that them? I'm not sure if that was them. But you can get it from some kind of like third-party testing. I've used Everlywell before, and they might have the MTHFR testing, but I know they have a lot of other things you can go to, or other things you can get tested for, thyroid and a whole panel of things for men and women. So that's another option you can look into. I have an ebook that I was reading from another woman who lists some different ways that you can get tested. So if you want that, again, you can email me or just connect with me quickly, and I can send that off to you.
Yeah, and we did ask folks in the audience today in the survey, have you tested yourself for MTHFR? If so, why? And most people said, no, we only had a couple of yeses. One said, don't know what it is or what the symptoms are, and my doctor probably doesn't either. Looking forward to hearing this episode. Another said, yes, my midwife did because of recurrent miscarriages. Another said, yes, I have been tested and I have it. My mother is bipolar and I've had some issues with anxiety, so my doctor had the foresight to test me for it. Another said, not yet. One of our daughters has a mutation on each of the locations. And so again, I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. So it's not 4 different varieties, it's 2 possibilities. And so these are 2, again, we're talking about genes here, genetics. So one is passed down from the mother, one is passed down from the father, if I'm understanding this correctly. And obviously, if you're going to have a mutation, you want as little as possible. So one is better than 2. And I guess how big of a difference is it, Becky, if you have 2 of these mutations? Is it dramatically different in terms of what needs to be done versus having one? And I know we've got the figure of about 50% of people may have at least one of these mutations. What's the percentage maybe on folks that would have 2? Do we know that?
Yeah, so just having one would be, so your ability to detox would go down to maybe like 30 to 40%, and you would only be able to absorb about like 60 to 70% of folate. And then when you go down to the double mutation, then that's where it drastically, it more than doubles, I think. It goes all the way to like 70% difficulty in detoxing, and then, a 70% reduction in absorbing folate acid in the proper way. And so those double mutations are the ones you really have to look out for, I think, to really make sure that you're keeping folic acid out of your diet. Now, a lot of doctors will recommend, like mine did, she said, just take a huge dose of folic acid and you'll be good to go. But folic acid will just kind of sit there and you can't utilize it. And like I said, it will cause inflammation. That's ideally better than that.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna come back and get more from Becky. Tough to hear over the music today, so we'll be right back with her and get a lot more insight on all of this. But we want to hear from you as well. 1-877-511-5483. That's the number to call in. Any questions, comments, experience with this MTHFR, this gene mutation, anything that you want to ask or want to share, 1-877-511-5483. And when we get back, we're going to get into a whole lot more what can be done about it. We did ask you if you've done anything to change your lifestyle for those who know that they have this gene mutation, and has it helped? We're going to get into those responses as well. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is Life News Radio. I'm Jim Anderson. A second trial found 3 more people guilty of FACE Act violations Friday. A judge blocked evidence that might have shown licit reasons for protests against illegal abortions. Friday also saw a White House appeal of the Fifth Circuit judgment blocking FDA allowance of mail-order and medically unsupervised chemical abortions. Teresa Bukovac admits her chances for beating Joe Biden are a long shot, yet the D.C. abortion protester running for president says she sees her Democrat primary campaign as a way to avoid network censorship of her explicit anti-abortion advertising. This is Life News Radio. Isn't life an awesome gift? Married couples have the power, the calling, to co-create an eternal life with God that will last forever. God has also designed us so that we can plan, can order our families effectively, naturally, and without the artificial means of chemicals or barriers. Register for classes in NFP, Natural Family Planning, near you, online at ccli.org or call 800-745-8252. An article at Population Research Institute clears the air about Mexico and abortion. In short, their Supreme Court has not provided unlimited abortion. A thorough read is at lifenews.com or at pop.org. And Live Action is telling the story of the Olma family of World War II Poland, including their youngest yet unborn child. 7 children and both parents are all on the path to sainthood in the Catholic Church. They were killed by Nazis, along with 8 Jewish friends hidden in their home. It's uncharted territory for a preborn child to be beatified, and its effect within the life issue is perhaps immeasurable. For pro-life headlines delivered to your email address daily, sign up at lifenews.com. This has been Life News Radio.
Simple Truth. Jim Havens here with Becky Havens talking about MTHFR. What do you know about MTHFR? It is Wholeness and Healing Monday, and we're helping you to understand the importance of perhaps this gene mutation that may be affecting you and you're not even aware of it. So a forum to discuss it here today. But Becky, you got cut off right at the end of the segment. Please continue on.
Sure. Sorry about that. So I think I lost where I was, but basically I would go, okay, so something when you're looking into the MTHFR mutation, it's hard to say like, okay, I have this symptom, so do I have it? I have this or do I have it? Because it's going to affect every way in which you function. So if your immune function is down, it could be that, it could be a number of things. But it's a good piece of information to know. So a lot of people struggle with depression or bipolar disease or MS-like symptoms, but it's actually not MS. And so a lot of people are going around thinking they have multiple sclerosis when really their pathways might not just be functioning properly, and they just need to clean some things up. It's kind of like a big puzzle, and you're kind of just figuring out what fits here and there. So the one gene, the C677T, if you have that, you're more likely prone, but it doesn't mean that you are, to maybe depression or bipolar or maybe ulcers, recurrent miscarriage, things like that. And the other one, the A1298C, would be more like heart disease related, different kinds of cancers. Again, it doesn't mean like I have this, I'm going to get cancer. I have this, or I'm going to get heart disease. You have control over what you consume and how you take care of your body, and that's like the main thing. And so I think it's really important to note, like, do not get like talking from personal experience, I kind of went overboard when I was thinking about all this and learning all this. And I was like, this must be related to every single symptom I have, or this must be related to what he has or she has. And it probably has something to do with something, but it's not, you find this out and then all of the answers are miraculously there. So I think you have to be careful not to go down the rabbit hole of going too deep into it and getting obsessive over it. And just stay balanced. I would say it's really important to stay balanced in the whole area here, because there's so much information out there, and there's a lot of like fear as well that people kind of start to freak out, and you just really want to avoid when things like that are about to happen.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, this is one of those categories. I think that it helps to think about it like, look, if we have things that are ailing us that we don't understand or that we don't know, look, we still have the responsibilities of our call to holiness before us in this earthly life, the responsibilities of our vocation, the good works that we're called to do. So regardless of how we're feeling or what's going on, we still, we want to do our very best, right, to fulfill our responsibilities. And if we don't understand it, we don't know what's going on, but we're just experiencing these symptoms, what we do know is the show must go on. Pick up the cross. Let's go. We got to do our very best in the responsibilities that we have. At the same time, though, if there are these things going on, if we are experiencing these symptoms and there's a reason why, there is an ailment, something perhaps that would be mysterious to us that could be found, like this MTHFR gene mutation. Maybe you have two of these mutations. It's drastically affecting your body's ability to detoxify and causing all sorts of these difficulties for you. When you find that out and then you can do some things to mitigate it, well, God's not wanting you to not know about that and just pick up your cross and grit it out by God's grace, right? He wants us to use our brains, faith and reason, to understand these things that might be taking place, and then to experience the healing that he wants to bring us in these areas, if it's something that healing can be brought to. So, and certainly we have the whole life of grace and the sacramental life that is there to help us along the way, and on an even deeper level that does affect not just our souls, but our bodies as well. But it's important to understand something like this. Wouldn't you want to know if this is affecting you in various ways that you wouldn't be aware of, because these are sort of some of the things you can do about it, right? At least this is the list that I came up with. And Becky, you can add, subtract it as you wish. One is already been mentioned by Becky, avoid folic acid, as well as foods that are fortified with it. And what you want to do is supplement with the methylfolate, the active form of vitamin B9, but that's a very potent supplement. So we'll talk about that in a moment, about how to do that well. Also, you could supplement with cobalamin. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but it's the active form of vitamin B12. You can also avoid gluten, all wheat. You can avoid sugar. And certainly get a good amount of the dark leafy green vegetables, which I think is going to give you that methylfolate in a natural way. And then also eating organic food, grass-fed food, because again, you have a problem detoxifying. And so you don't want to bring the toxins in. So that's a big part of this. How to be more toxin-free is going to help somebody that has this MTHFR. But Becky, what else would you add or say about that list?
I think that's really good. I think it can actually be really simple. And I think I was getting caught up in all the things I had to do and had to change, when most of it can just be done at home. And I appreciate the view of Dr. Ben Lynch, who you mentioned earlier, because he doesn't say to be, okay, you're on this supplement for the rest of your life. He really thinks supplements should be used as supplements. And so they're basically just supplementing when you're at a low point, or when you've been through something stressful, or when you're completely depleted of something, and just for a specific amount of time. And then once you're feeling good, you can slowly wean off of that and then let food take over and nourish yourself in that way, and drinking good filtered water and going from there. And I think that, that is the biggest thing you can do is kind of take care of your body. I mean, I think we talk about this all the time, but look at the things that cause heart disease, or even that contribute to depression. A lot of it has to do with food, or lack of sleep, or stress and difficulties, unforgiveness and sin and all that. But when you do the right thing and get your body where it needs to be, such as, going gluten-free, that was really helpful for me. A nourishing diet, decreasing stress, which I know is very difficult. Increasing sleep. I think even that is so huge. It gives your body a chance to just sleep and reset. That's the point of sleep, is so that your body can reset and repair. And when you're not getting a maximum amount of sleep, I'm not saying like sleep for, 8, 9, 10 hours a night, even 7 to 8 is going to be really good for you. And then taking the vitamins that you might need for a time. I mean, if you are struggling with serious disease and you are going nowhere with your doctor, and there is no answers that you're getting, I would certainly look into something like this and go to the website that I mentioned, MTHFR.net, because there are a ton of people who are struggling with illness, and there's no reason why. And it really could just be, you have a gene mutation and your body's not functioning properly. But the good thing is that and he kind of talks about this as well, but your genes can be activated or dormant depending on how you treat your body. So you can actually put it to sleep, and calm it down. You just like with any other illness, you can get flares or at points where high inflammation and you're really sick, and then you just gotta get it under control, and then it can lay dormant, kind of like a virus in your body, like the chicken pox can later turn into shingles, especially that comes out when you're stressed. Well, this is the same type of thing. And when you treat your body good, you're going to have good results. So I think that's the most important thing, is just take care of yourself. I mean, it makes the most sense, and that's actually one of the best things that you can do.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's get to this methylfolate. So this is a supplement, a very potent supplement, the active form of vitamin B9. This is something that is recommended by many who are aware, many of these doctors aware of MTHFR, and they say, well, you can supplement with this methylfolate. So tell the story on this a little bit, Becky. I'm pretty sure this is the supplement that I took that normally these things don't affect me very much. This one, I think, was the one that after I was taking this for a little bit, I felt, I don't know if I can even describe it or even remember exactly what it was, but I'm pretty sure it was kind of like in my joints, or this feeling of just kind of like, maybe this was the one where I described it as like, it felt like my cells were being ripped apart. I don't know, but I do remember it. There was a certain pain that came from taking this supplement, and then found out that, yeah, it's quite potent, and maybe I was taking too much of it. So share a little bit more with us about this. I don't think we take this anymore, do we?
Not really. We might take it from time to time. But this is where it gets really important. If you are going to start supplementing, don't just start taking a huge dose, even though that's what my doctor had recommended for me to do. You have to, it's one of the supplements that you really have to start really low and slow. And so I thought that I was even doing that when we were supplementing. I knew that likely my reasons for miscarriages at that time was because I was so low on folate. I had just been pregnant within 3.5 years and breastfed all the babies as well. And so at that point, I think I was just completely diminished. And I was taking just a very minimal supplement. Nobody tells you like that the baby pulls so much from you. I think I really struggled with a lot of issues with my teeth as well after my third. And that's kind of what gave me an idea that maybe I'm just really low on my nutrients and my vitamins and my minerals. And I was. And, once I started supplementing those properly, I was able to get pregnant again. And so I did think that we were starting out the right way, but and like you said, you're somebody who you can take anything and it's like it has no effect on you. And I'll be like, how are you feeling? How does that make you feel? And you're like, I don't know what it even took, so I have no idea. I'm probably fine, and or I'm very in tune to like what's going on. And so I started very low for me, but not I like doubled yours because I just assumed you're very tolerant to things like that. So when you started complaining about how bad you felt, I was like, oh, is this from the supplements I'm giving them? Because this could be a problem. And so I was feeling that to a small degree. So when you start taking something, and this could be with other supplements as well, but something like a methylated version, your body for the first time is like waking up and saying, wow, I've not really recognized that, but I need that, but I don't know where to store it. So I have a lot of this old stuff, this old folate acid or folic acid that, you've been eating cereal for your entire life, and you're probably full of folic acid and bread and all that stuff that they enrich with it. And so if you can't use it, where's it going? It's not necessarily being detoxed. A lot of times it's getting stored in your body. And so something that can happen is different areas of inflammation that you have. And I think yours was really around your legs, and you were running at that time, and probably that's where you were feeling sore. So you can have, a high reaction from this if you're not really going slow with it. And Dr. Lynch talks a lot about this because I thought maybe there's something wrong with us, but this is a very common thing that can happen. And you're over methylating. So you need to pull back and maybe take a day off and start again. And that's kind of what I was trying to do. I was cutting up these little pills in like 14 pieces. And when you have the proper dose, you feel great. So I know the music's starting. I don't want to get caught up again. So
yeah, interesting to hear the story. So you had a much lower dose than me. So that explains it. I'm pretty sure I might have had the sense that you were thinking I was pretty wimpy, right? For complaining. Oh, what are you complaining about this for? And I was just like, all right, I'll just keep taking it and pushing on. But it was rough. So eventually I was like, I think I'm done with this one. And but anyway, there's still these other things that we can do, right? We don't have to be supplementing with that. And that's the thing about supplements and various things that you can try for various reasons. If you're not getting good results from it, then throw it to the side and see what else it could be helpful and give that a shot. But if you've got something you want to share with us today, phone lines are open 1-877-511-5483. We'll be right back. It is a scientific fact that life begins at fertilization. Every human being is a human person. It already says in the 14th Amendment of our U.S. Constitution that all persons are to have equal protection under the laws. Yet we have an ongoing mass murder of our little preborn brothers and sisters under the big lie of abortion. The Supreme Court must explicitly affirm federal protection for our last excluded class and end this constitutional crisis. Use your voice and sign the petition now at thestationofthecross.com.
Hear what listeners are saying about the free iCatholic Radio mobile app.
Through the iCatholic Radio app, I have listened to the sermons and teachings several times. The effect has been a deeper understanding of my faith and Catholic tradition. This app has truly been a blessing in my life and has increased my faith.
Listen live or at your convenience to your favorite shows. Just search for iCatholic Radio in your app store today.
What you're offering and giving to me, you deserve to get back because you're offering more than I can give.
I learned so much through the Station on the Cross. I listen to the radio station daily, and I absolutely love it.
I was attending the chapel and places like that, and through your programs, I was able to find out how other Protestants had come back into the Catholic Church. God bless the Station of the Cross.
Donate today at thestationofthecross.com.
Hi, I'm Debbie Georgiani.
And I'm Adam Bly.
Join us for the Spirit World on the Station of the Cross. If we're really going to suffer, we really need to suffer here when we're in the church militant phase, right?
The most difficult part for the poor soul is that they had some amount of that beatific vision in their judgment. They know they're going to get back to God, but then they're separated from God. So that's kind of the worst part because that's a spiritual suffering.
The Spirit World, every Saturday at 11 a.m., right here on the Station of the Cross.
Welcome back to The Simple Truth. Jim and Becky Havens here. Wholeness and Healing Monday. Our topic, what do you know about MTHFR? Been talking about this for the program today. It's an important thing to know about. So this mutation in the MTHFR gene, it affects the efficiency of the MTHFR enzyme in every cell of one's body. It's crucial to the methylation cycle and can have some pretty rough effects on you, and you may be dealing with this and not even know about it. Also, do want to mention as well Becky's book, Toxin Free in 12 Months, a 12-month guide to help you transition over to a toxin-free lifestyle. You can get it for free at her website, safehavensmama.com. This is important to this topic because this MTHFR mutation, what it does is it messes up your ability to really detoxify. And so you want to be more toxin free in terms of what you are encountering, what you are ingesting. That way you can help your body out. It doesn't have to detoxify so much. And so you want to try to make some good decisions on the front end here. So again, you can get that resource, Toxin Free in 12 Months at safehavensmama.com. And let's just get to the last question on the survey today. If you have had if you do know that you have the MTHFR gene mutation, have you done anything to change your lifestyle because of it, and has it helped? Explain. These were the answers that we received. Try to generally eat healthy and stay away from processed food and grains. Another said removed folic acid and wheat for the most part when I needed to take methylated vitamins so I can absorb them better. So I think saying basically, if I can just avoid the folic acid and the wheat, then I don't need maybe the vitamins, so I can absorb those things better. Maybe you can just get them from the natural source, the dark leafy green vegetables. One more response, Catherine in Newton, Kansas said, I eat healthier and exercise. I've learned some behavior modification techniques to help with the stress. And I also take a folate supplement with B12. All of this has definitely helped. Yeah, thanks for that insight, Catherine. We appreciate that, and everybody who responded to the survey today. But Becky, that's where I want to land, kind of along the lines of what Catherine was saying. So she does take a folate supplement with B12. So there is some supplementation that she found to be helpful for her. But I think what I'm thinking here is that some of these things are just good to be doing anyway. And so if 50% of the population has some variation of this, one of these MTHFR mutations, at least one, then, maybe not even get tested, perhaps, unless you have really strong symptoms. Maybe you have two, and it'd be good for you to know that. But aren't these things just good things for all of us to be doing anyway? To avoid sugar, temperance, limit the sugar consumption, temperance on the gluten, and also some generosity in terms of eating a lot of the dark leafy green vegetables, eating the organic foods, the grass-fed foods as you can find them, as you can afford them, because you can't maybe detoxify as well. And so again, investing on that front end of what you're ingesting, what you're encountering, and just, the basic building blocks of health are going to help you here, just as they help you across the board. Good sleep, diet, and exercise. And so get some sunlight, all that good stuff. And so, that's where I kind of land on this. Can't we just kind of pull it back and say everybody should just be focused on these good building blocks regardless? And then maybe you don't need to worry too much about this gene mutation or things like it. But I don't know. Becky, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. I think that if you are really struggling with some serious symptoms and so some things are pointing to this, I think might be important. I do think it's something important for women of childbearing age to know, because I think it can be helpful to know for sure, especially if you have any clotting issues, especially with all the COVID stuff. Like if you have a predisposed clotting disorder, I don't know, MTHFR gene could make it worse. I don't know. I think that it definitely depends. I just want to touch on this really quick as well. So one of the things that one of our doctors said to us with our daughter having two of the variations was saying that it's really good if you don't vaccinate her. And that was kind of surprising at the time. We had put that on pause. We just weren't sure what we were going to do. And basically it was because if she's having a hard time to, detoxifying toxins or chemicals, she's going to have a hard time with the vaccines because there's a lot of preservatives. There's a lot of strange things in vaccines. There's aborted fetal cell lines, things that are not meant to be in your body. And so you're going to have a hard time detoxing that. And so it was recommended to make sure not to allow her to have that. And I said, well, I definitely don't want to do that for any of us then. I mean, I had them all probably, but she said there is a higher chance of autism for children who do have, I think it could be one or two of the variations. Yeah. And so definitely important to avoid that. And I thought that was really good. So we've always been able to get a medical waiver for her and for all of us for that, for different vaccines, actually all the vaccines, because I think that's really important. And there are doctors who work with autistic children who know the MTHFR gene is a really big deal with that. Same goes for Down syndrome. That's nothing that the parents can do, but most children who are Down syndrome do have a variation of that. And it's good to know that as well, so that you can make sure you're not giving fortified foods to them and really knowing how to take care of them properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, really great point, especially on the autism. I was thinking about that earlier when I was learning more about this. I was thinking, if somebody has a problem detoxifying and that's known, then that would be all the more reason not to take vaccines that could be a problem for you. So, or anything that is, filled with things that you need a lot of detoxifying for. And so, especially when I saw that autism link with the MTHFR, that does pose a greater risk of autism, and then thinking about so much of what we've heard, experience of so many families who children with autism, and it really comes on. They see nothing, and then after they are vaccinated, then they see it come on. You wonder, maybe that's an important aspect of this, if they have the MTHFR or not, in all of that. That could be a very important aspect. So yeah, very, very important insight. We appreciate that, Becky. And anything else that you want to share with us today on this?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point to bring up, because there are doctors and pediatricians who will work with children. It most likely does happen. The child seems fine, and then they get maybe not the first round or second round, maybe the third round of vaccines, and it doesn't happen to every child. And so if there's 50% of children with one of the variations, that makes sense. That like 50% of children are now displaying some kind of autistic level on the spectrum. And so just to know that hope is not lost, and there's ways to work with good doctors to start to detoxify. There's a lot of heavy metals in vaccines, and so children especially have a really difficult time detoxing those, because those go right to your brain. They do not just float around and just get detoxed. You have to do special treatments for that. So I think it's, in that area, if you're dealing with autism, I think that's a really important part to get tested for, and to work with somebody who's really specialized in this area to kind of work with you. I know that would be the first thing I would do if that was something that was happening with one of our children. So.
Mm-hmm. Quick fun question to end it on. What's your favorite dark leafy green vegetable?
I like Swiss chard, I guess, or kale. I don't know. Kale's kind of gross, but if you cook it the right way, it can be good.
Funny. I was thinking Swiss chard myself, and I was thinking, hey, that was kind of like an outside of the box answer, right? But you had the same thing. So, hey, we got I don't know many recipes with Swiss chard. I think I've had it as salad and maybe cooked up a little bit, but yeah, maybe we can get some more of that going. What do you think?
Yeah, we can work on that.
All right. Sounds good. All right. If you have any other questions, anything on this, again, you can always reach out to Becky, safehavensmama.com. God bless you.
My name is Nathan Wigfield, Executive Director of the St. Thomas More House of Prayer.